basics of composting. Open to questions anytime. If you have a question, just raise your hand or yell at me. But obviously, composting is nature's way of producing quality soil. And so when we compost, all we're doing is using the same, we're just assisting nature because we don't create anything to compost. All we're doing is copying what nature does. Only we can fast forward a little bit by creating the right combination of things when we compost. And that's why composting, how many of you have seen our bins over here? Have you all been around the garden and seen our bins? We have a 3-bin compost pile. We'll talk about bins in a minute. And that's a very professional situation out here. Some of the guys that are great carpenters built that, and it's really high quality. And so, but you don't have to have something that exotic. You can compost on the ground if you want to. But our composting is just an acceleration of what nature does. Nature composts all around us all the time. And I'm not going to look up the screen much. I've got my little copy here. Here, let's go to the next one. You know that one of the benefits of composting is it reduces the waste. Now, those of you who live in town, if you have a lot of yard waste, what do you do with it? You put it in a bag, right? Set it out on the curb. I lived in the country for many years here, and all I do, I just burn it. I had a corner of the place where I could go down and burn things. I just burned all the trash, yard trash, tree limbs and things. I had a lot of oak trees, so I had a lot of tree limbs. I'm in town now, and so I'm one of those, put it in a bag. I don't have my compost bin built yet in my home because we just moved here this past year, and I am going to build a compost bin. I had one out in the country. But how many of you compost already? A few. Okay. All right. When I started composting, I didn't know much about it, so I made a lot of mistakes, did a few things right. But when I went through the gardening course, let me tell you this. If you want to know a lot of details about composting, just go to Texas AgriLife on your computer, and you can put compost in there, and you'll get articles that are just, it will flood you with details. We're going to more than we can cover here in this presentation today. So there's lots to know, but we'll give you some of the highlights. If we were to, if all of America would compost, of course that's not going to happen. But here's the average. Kitchen scraps that go to the landfill average about 0.2 to 0.9 pounds per capita per day. That stuff going into the landfills, it doesn't have to be there. So a few of us that compost, you're helping reduce that overflow into the landfills. Grass clippings, leaves, brush, old plant material, weeds, that's called landscape debris. 15 to 20% of the waste stream is caused by all that. That's what we could reduce if we compost. So if we composted those items instead of putting them into the landfill, we can improve soil characteristics of your soil. It would increase the capacity of the soil to retain water and nutrients and increases soil aeration. That's what composting does. And it amends soil. If you dig soil out of your yard, depending on how much clay you have and sandy loam or what, if you dig down far enough, you're going to get some clay, aren't you? In most cases, you're going to go down far enough into the soil basis, you'll have clay. If you dig that clay up and put it in a bucket, what's it do? It's like mud, right? It's like hard mud. And could you plant a plant in that? Not really. So then you move up the stream to more of a sandy loam soil and things like that are plantable. And take the soil you buy at your big box store. Has anyone ever bought potting soil? I think we all have. There's different levels of potting soil, but have you seen potting soil that had little lumps of stuff in it? Little organic material? You know what that is? That's compost. And they're taking a high-quality compost, adding it to soil to make a really good potting soil. That's what the application of compost is. It amends soil and improves it. It improves its nutrient abilities, and it makes plants grow better. So it changes the soil, makes it, most things you plant, and if you read instructions on your plants you buy, almost all of them say plant in a well-drained soil, don't they? Almost every plant says that, well-drained soil. Well, composting amends soil, and if it's a harder soil with a little too much clay in it, compost will amend that soil and make it receive air and water better and not be standing in water. So it's very beneficial. The carbon and nitrogen combination is what makes compost work. High nitrogen is your grass, your green leafy plants, your farmyard manure if you have that available to that, and it breaks down quickly. Nitrogen is the engine that runs compost. It's the thing that creates the reaction between nitrogen and carbon, along with the help of all these little microbiotic creatures that get into compost, and that's one of the things that you want in compost. You want earthworms in your compost. You want little bugs. You want little microbiotic things that you can't see, because they do a lot of the work. And so what they do, they take organic material that you're putting in, and we'll get into this a little bit later about what you're going to put in this compost, but they're the things that break this down. And so the best ratio is 30-to-1. You want a lot more carbon than you have nitrogen. Nitrogen is so powerful and so strong that if you put too much nitrogen in your compost, you'll get ammonia, and that smells. Doesn't smell good. And so, and I get to another slide, I get ahead of myself, but good compost smells good. It smells earthy. If you have any kind of good soil, well, smell the soil you buy at your store, the potting soil, you get a handful of it and smell it. It smells good. It smells earthy. It doesn't smell bad. So your compost should not stink. If it does, there's some problems. We'll talk about what that might be. I just said high nitrogen, what it can do. We already talked about that. Just a reminder here, nature makes the compost, we assist. We can't make compost, nature does it. Okay, the side of the pile. Those of you who compost, what kind of a bin do you use? You say you compost, you use some on the ground, or?
Mine is 4 by 4 by 4.
Okay.
But I think it's a little too big for me because I can't.
That's pretty big. That's pretty big. 3 by 3 is ideal. Now our bins are long. So they're 3 feet wide, which is proper, but they're almost too long. I have to use a rake to get back in there and pull. So anyway, a 3 by 3 is ideal. Anybody else have a bin that you're using? Any kind of other bin?
I have a sword-off thing that it's a big barrel that you
Okay.
rotate.
Okay, you can do that. Yep. Anything else? When I first started composting out in the country, we had some plastic fence things that we were using to restrain animals. They were just little 3-foot tall fence pieces, and they were about 2 feet long. And it was about as basic as you could get. I just took those and made dividers and put plastic posts in the ground, and I could throw my compost in there. It was up against a storage shed. And so we'll talk about location in a minute. I guess that's what we're into now. You've got to have air. You can make a compost bin out of cinder blocks if you want to, but you need to have some openings in the cinder blocks. There has to be air to get into this compost. And so you can put a top on it if you want to, but you really need moisture, and you need some again, air. You don't want to close it in so that it's tight. It has to breathe. And you don't want it in a low place where the water's going to run into it. Too much water will kill it. And so you don't want it out in the open sun where it will just completely dry out because the sun will kill it too. And so there has to be a combination. I was fortunate because it had a big live oak tree that provided some filtered sun, and it was up against a storage shed, so I left it open on top and had 2 bins, and it seemed to get the right amount of light and the right amount of air. And those are both critical. The other one is moisture. You want your compost to be moist, but you don't want it to be soaked. If it's dry, it will not work. Dryness will stop the process. It has to have moisture It has to have air, and so that's when you're doing your pile, you want to consider that. I have some pictures from other places here. Here's some examples of some. Mine was a little bit like this. When I finally built it out of wood, I built it about like that, not exactly like that. There's a commercial barrel. I think we have the one that you can roll, and those work. These are basic. These are really, really basic, but they work. Notice the screen for air. Now this is up against a fence in somebody's yard, and they probably have it where it'll get some shade but some sunlight. Now you can control the moisture. If you don't get regular rain, which Lord knows we need more of that around here, but you can take your garden hose and water it. It has to have moisture. And so you work your composting in conjunction with what's the weather doing. Are we getting rain every 3 days? And sometimes we get into those things. I've seen that for a while. Then you wouldn't do it. But if it's dry like it has been, you go through these long dry spells, water your compost. Now the other thing that will give moisture to your compost is what you put in it. One of the best things, and the way I started was real basic, and we cook a lot at home, so there's a lot of kitchen scraps. When I say scraps, though, I'm talking about vegetables. Lettuce leaves, asparagus, broccoli, all the things that you might be cooking or making salad with. Don't throw those in the trash. Those make great compost. Those are nitrogen. And kitchen leftover from cooking, don't put anything there that has been cooked, but in its raw state, it makes great compost. What would be wrong? You could compost like this in an open place in your yard. What would be wrong with that? What would be difficult about that? I'm sorry? That kind of a bin is totally open to weather. And it could get too much rain. And critters. Now then we'll talk about critters in a minute. Why don't critters attack the compost? There's a couple of reasons. But bins are very basic. You can start simply, and the air and moisture and sunlight are important. How to build a compost pile. All right, you need enough material to start with basically for about a cubic yard, although that's not absolutely true. You could start small. I started pretty small when I really began. I took some kitchen leftover vegetable cuttings, put some coffee grounds in it. Coffee grounds makes great compost. And found some leaves. We'll talk about leaves in a minute too, different kinds of leaves. But leaves is a great source of carbon if they're brown leaves. And so, let's just go through this. You would really remember your 30-to-1 ratio. You don't want to get too much nitrogen. Make sure you got plenty of carbon. We'll talk about what the two things are in a minute. You should always shred your material because it's easier for things to break down if they're shredded. Now, like newspaper, for instance, makes good compost, but you wouldn't want to just throw a newspaper in there, would you? Because it would take forever for it to break down. So what you do, if you had a shredder, a paper shredder, you would shred that newspaper. Put that in your compost, and it's part of the compost. One way to start composting is to layer. You usually start on the bottom of the bin with some kind of straw or a coarse material that doesn't break down very easily. Then on top of that, start putting your nitrogen, your grass clippings, your kitchen scraps, and things in there on top of that. Then come back on with some kind of carbon material on top of that, about 6 inches, and so you layer these things. And then when you put some moisture on there, they can begin to work. And the microbes begin to work, and the worms and the critters that get in, not critters, but bugs that get in there. So it's the layer idea. All right. You can actually add fertilizer to your compost. Because an 888 or a 10-10-10 fertilizer don't ever use weed feed. But those are high in nitrogen and potassium and things that can help compost. So if if you're having difficulty, if you don't have enough grass clippings, which grass clippings are a wonderful source of nitrogen. If you don't have a lot of grass clippings, you can actually add some fertilizer to your, and just sprinkle some in there. Don't dump it in there, but just sprinkle some in there. It will actually give the compost the nitrogen it needs. Don't pack your layers down. If you're layering your compost, don't pack it down tight. Always let it, just throw it in there and let it be where it can air. Any fertilizer you buy is just nitrogen, potassium, and what's the third one?
Phosphorus.
Yes. So it's just a way for them to identify, because you could get a 12-4-2. You could get different. So 888 is just it's consistent, doesn't have too much of any of those things, and it's a balance. It's a balanced fertilizer. So that can be added to your compost. Yeah.
What is the coffee ground? Is that nitrogen or carbon?
Actually, it's nitrogen. And because it's brown, you think it's carbon, but I'm sorry, it's not. On our pile out here, I get 40 and 50 pound bags of coffee grounds from the coffee box down on Caroline Street. And they'll call me every couple of weeks, and I'll go pick those up in my truck and bring them out here and sprinkle them in the compost. Now, I can't do that every week, because what would happen? Too much nitrogen. Too much nitrogen. And so I have to balance that with leaves and other carbon things to keep that ratio. Now, composting is an exact science, but it isn't an exact science. Doesn't make any sense, does it? It is an exact science in that if you had the exact amount of carbon, the exact amount of nitrogen, the exact amount of air and water, then you would have perfect compost, but we don't have that, do we? Some of this is, I call it seed your pants. We garden that way sometimes. It's not an exact science, but you'll have, it's a learn as you go kind of thing. Don't be intimidated by all these numbers that we give you. Because the key to this is you can compost with just some basic things. And you make some mistakes and you'll learn from them. But we'll give you some basic do's and don'ts here in a minute about the overall basic things you should and should not do. All right, now we'll get into the things you should and shouldn't put in compost. You can use all your green vegetables. You can use fruits. There are some limitations on fruits, but you can use coffee and tea grounds, eggshells as long as they're crushed. If you crack an egg and cook with it, don't throw the whole eggshell in your compost. Crack it up and put it in there. Soft paper, any soft paper will compost. Kleenex, paper towels, newspapers. You can use your cereal boxes. You could actually shred those up and use them for compost.
Jack, a question on the eggshells. You know, when you do crack an egg, sometimes some of the yolk and that still hangs in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I started thinking about that when you said all this stuff. Is it best to kind of rinse them out a little bit or no?
It's better.
Better to rinse it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's better. Because what you don't want in your compost is any milk, meat, bones, cheese, chicken, fish scraps, vegetable oil, yogurt, lard, mayonnaise, and treated lumber. There's reasons for all this. Some of them are obvious, right? In other words, sawdust will, just a second, sawdust will compost, but you wouldn't want sawdust from treated lumber because it has heavy-duty chemicals in it. You don't want those heavy-duty chemicals in your compost. Compost is natural, yes.
We have a bunch of shavings from planing wood, and it's a non-treated wood. Is that the carbon or the nitrogen?
That would be carbon.
That would be carbon.
Yeah.
So you could use that to offset your greens.
Yes, yes. And shavings would work. Shavings they would compost. Sawdust works better, but yeah.
I've been composting for a long time, and one thing that I never saw in all the reading I've done about it is what is 30 to 1? Is it 30 pounds or 30 something by volume?
It's really volume.
Okay.
It's really volume. And that's what I said about an exact science. How many of us are going to go out and measure 30 parts of carbon and 1 part of nitrogen? We're not going to do that. You all are smart people, and you know how to. Some people, now I can't do this. My mother cooked this way. If she needed salt, she'd just sprinkle some salt in her hand and throw it in there. I would take a measuring thing and measure 1/4 teaspoon of salt. But she cooked with like that. And sometimes gardening is that way. Yes.
So you wouldn't make your compost bin out of treated lumber? Is that what you're saying?
It'd be best not to, because that treated lumber, and I've heard both sides of this. I've heard even people say that you can use railroad ties. And then I've heard other people, oh no, that has creosote in it and all this bad stuff. And then I had another A&M expert said, you can use it. It doesn't leak into the soil. To me, to be safe, I wouldn't use it. I just wouldn't do it. That's not to say you couldn't make it out of treated lumber. See, the thing about, you're talking about treated 1x6s and 2x4s.
1x6.
Yeah. I don't know that would leach into the compost. I really don't know that it would. It's just that you don't want to use sawdust from your treated wood and put it in it, because that's a direct connection. And so the other one is kind of hit and miss, and maybe you can, maybe you can't. I don't know any reason why it would really be a definite no. Yes.
Yeah, but can you use the sawdust from I have an oak tree that was chopped down, and there's a whole bunch of sawdust from garden. Can I use that?
And what part of the oak tree?
Oak?
But you're talking about the pieces of oak?
The tree was knocked down altogether. And when they cut it
You've
down
got
to
the
the
root
bottom,
base is there?
all that sawdust is right there where the base is.
Uh-huh.
The sawdust, that's right.
The sawdust would be fine.
Okay.
The sawdust would be fine. Oak trees are interesting. If you know, those of you who have oak trees, you know live oak leaves are hard as nails. I mean, they don't compost well, I'm sorry. It takes a long time to compost. If I had live oak, and I had tons of live oak leaves, and I had a mulching mower, a big mulching mower, and I could mulch those leaves up, and then they'll compost. But don't throw whole live oak leaf. Now, some of the other oak trees are a little more soft, a little softer. Post oaks are a little softer. And then some of your other trees, not oak trees, that have soft leaves, it works. But again, with leaves, I would chop them up somehow, either with a lawnmower or it just takes longer. If you put whole leaves in your compost, it takes a long time for that to break down. And think about that for anything you throw in there. If you put lettuce in there, you're best to strip that lettuce into pieces before you put it in there, not the whole leaf, because it just takes longer. And so these little microbes and bugs and things that work this material, they work better on the smaller pieces and not the great big chunks. So you get the idea of the basic do's and don'ts. These are the basic don'ts. And I know when I was first starting, I didn't know for sure, and I'd have some raw beef, and I thought, well, why wouldn't that compost? Well, one of the things that would happen if you threw a piece of raw meat in your compost, what would it attract? Everything you don't want in your compost. Every kind of critter, from raccoons to dogs to, So I tell you what, compost is organic. If anybody's into the whole organic movement, you ought to feel real good about composting because it's 100% organic. Everything about it is organic. That's what makes compost happen. So, let's see, we're almost out of this, I think. And I'm about on time. Well, here's how your garden should look when you're all finished. That's my goal. I like to landscape garden. And that's what I want my backyard to look like. But anyway, compost helps things grow. And if you've never tried composting, I would recommend taking this material and anything you can get from Texas AgriLife. You'll get lots of information. Give it a try. It's fun. It's exciting to make soil that adds to the gardening world. And so I'd recommend you try it. Those of you who've been doing it, you know it's a lot of fun. And you get your hands in the dirt a lot, and there's something therapeutic about that, I think. And that's why we're all so well adjusted as gardeners. We get our hands in the dirt once in a while. But anyway, thank you for listening. And if you have any questions after this, I'd be happy to talk to you. I don't know everything, but I know some people who do. And it's called Texas AgriLife. They have all the details. So good luck in your gardens.